Today's show is brought to you in part by York Dodge. You never have to leave town to get the vehicle, deal, or service that you want. See you at York.
Nice to have you on Morning Scramble in northern Arizona. Thanks for joining us. We have green, 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 and no, it is not St. Patrick's yet. I know, we're jumping the gun on this a little bit, but we have Gina Murphy Darling on with us. Lovely to have you on, Gina.
Thanks for having me.
AKA Mrs. Green.
Yes.
And you're wearing green and everything, so I can't pinch you. Of course, it's not St. Patrick's,
That's right.
But so Mrs. Green, and it's Mrs. Green's World. You are the founder and CEO. What is Mrs. Green's World, Gina?
Mrs. Green's World is about a world filled with hope, possibility, and change about our planet. And it's trying to get people, ordinary people like you and me, everyday people, to realize that the planet is in grave danger on the one hand, but on the other hand, there's small steps that we can all take to make a collective big impact. So it's about consciousness and connecting to the earth and to food and to your shopping and of course to plastic bags and plastic bottles. I always have to get that in. So it's really about that message of interviewing great minds on my radio and really trying to get people to be aware, to get out of the consumer coma of just consume, 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 because we don't have an infinite supply of consumables.
You know, I don't think people on the individual level really get that. It's like, oh, what is one person gonna do? What kind of difference can it make? But it can, and it grows. And I know I get passionate about this stuff, but why'd you start this? I mean, what's your background, Gina? Because this is not
my background is not a perfect segue to becoming Mrs. Green, but I think I was being led on a path I wasn't aware of. I always worked with at-risk children and families and managed large volume mental health contracts around the country. And I think it really was a natural path, because what I began to find is increases in autism, increases in juvenile diabetes, increases in ADD, ADHD. And I'd sit at these big staffing meetings and saying, are we having a sale on autism? Like, what's going on? And starting to read more and, you know, putting together cause and effect. And the ultimate change was I took a trip to the rainforest in Peru. And to see it on TV is one thing, but to walk through the rainforest and see the devastation, the massive devastation of these trees that will really never come back. It's not that they'll come back in 500 years. And what that is doing to our oxygen supply, let alone the people down there that got like $300 for their plot of land, and now they're living on dirt because of, you know, when the rain comes.
Well, you know, I think this is the thing people don't understand, that the impact, it's, you know, we're just not like in our little bubble here. If there's a volcano that erupts, the entire world is affected by it. The Amazon and the rainforest, they are the lungs of our world.
They are.
And how many acres? How many acres a day are being destroyed, burned, and chopped? And
it depends on where, because there's governments that are standing up to the invasions a little bit, and I do call them invasions. Like Ecuador is still standing strong against some of the oil companies, and Peru has slowed it down, and one of the worst places is Borneo. And I don't know exactly how many acres there are, but in Borneo, they're just clear-cutting the rainforest. And we're talking about, you know, trees this big that families live on the bottom of and can live on the canopy, and they're just clear-cutting them. So it's really devastating, and it's very painful. So.
And you know, hundreds and hundreds of ecosystems, plants, creatures, you know, insects that, again, you know, every single ecosystem is important to our survival on this planet. And they're being destroyed.
They are. The other part that I love to bring to people's attention is a significant amount of the drugs that we use, unfortunately, to bring that up, their origin for healing, and they are found in the rainforest. And from what I have talked to scientists from all over the world, they've only discovered about a third of the kinds of things that we can learn to help heal some of all of the maladies and diseases that we have. So it's really, they're being cut and burned.
Well, I know we're just talking about like one aspect, but it's a huge aspect of what you do and what you're concerned with. Why are they taking down the rainforest? What's the big
They want land for cattle because our consumption of beef has grown so much globally, so they clear cut so they can graze cattle, which is not really an indigenous species in the rainforest. And they drill for oil. Those are the two big reasons. They clear cut through because there are vast amounts of oil under the surface. So China is, you know, I don't want to paint them as the total bad guy because they're putting up a lot of solar, but they are really after oil to be able to fuel their rapidly growing country.
Well, and the U.S. has for decades and decades and decades, you know, has exploited South America in all kinds of ways for oil. We need oil, folks. We want to drive our
Bring
cars
it up
or whatever. So, okay, well, Mrs. Green, I'm sorry, we like really got focused on one thing, but you have a radio show.
I have a radio show.
Yeah, and this is worldwide, and that's been going for a while.
7.5 years. It just blows me away because, you know, social services, oh, now I think I'll have a radio show. And it's called Mrs. Green's World, and I love my tagline, we don't tell you what to think, we just want you to. Yeah. Because it's not a political radio show. It's not, it's a very informative, think of these issues, know your farmer, you know, get to know what's happening to the rainforest, be careful how you shop, reduce, reuse, recycle, a very, you know, integrated message of what sustainability means for the planet.
Sure. And you interview all kinds of really famous people I know that are, like we were talking about Ted Danson, who's for cleaning up the oceans. And
Jane Goodall. I mean, after I interviewed Dr. Jane Goodall, I said to my team, we interviewed Jane Goodall, now what? Yeah. she was that awesome, and she is that awesome. And we interview kids. That's one of the things that I love the most. There are these two kids named Carter and Olivia Reese that have nonprofits to stop prevent the extinction of jaguars and rhinos. And they're they're 10 and 11 and a half. So no, I think
now that's social consciousness, seriously.
It is.
And that's where it's got to come from.
It is.
I mean,
the kids are waking up.
Yeah. Or maybe the older generation, we're learning slow, but
yeah, they're going knock, knock, knock. Hello, you better. You know what's happening.
And we also have to say you have a brand new book out today. It was like released today.
It is. That's why I'm so glad to be here. We're bursting.
Good. So tell me about Your Mother Called.
Well, that's kind of, I wanted to be funny. So I kept saying in writing the book, what do you say? Well, your mother called, Mother Earth, you better call her back. Because I felt like Mother Earth kept calling me saying, Gina, you better do something about this. You certainly know how to talk. And you better start talking to people about what's happening down here in the rainforest, what's happening in our oceans, what's happening to our bodies, and do it in a way that makes people excited and hopeful about change. So the book is about small steps that we can all take to make a big impact.
Nice, and so readable and fun. So who is the book for? I mean, you're talking about kids and adults, but who is Your Mother Called for? I'm sorry, I love your title. Your Mother Called, you better call her back, and we're talking about Mother Earth.
Everybody pays attention to that, right? Everybody calls their mother back.
My mother called?
And my book is really for mainstream America. You referred to it in the beginning. I don't think people intentionally do things to say, I'm going to harm the earth today. Sure. But I believe that after they read my book, they will think twice about throwing a plastic bag in the garbage. They'll think twice about buying a plastic bottle and get a reusable one. They'll really get to know their grocer and get to know where some of their food is sourced. And they'll get to look at what's in their cosmetics and their cleaning fluids. It really is leading to a lot of really poor health in our country and other places, and especially in America, where we get what I call sloppy seconds, because the grades for cosmetics and many things, food, is much higher, excuse me, in Europe. And I'm saying don't settle for that. Let's raise the bar, let our voices be heard, and there have been some very positive changes brought about because people raising their voices, like antibiotics in milk.
Growth hormones.
Growth hormones.
Oh, for heaven's sake. You know, and the awareness is the big education and awareness, which you are so doing, Mrs. Green. Now, of course, this book is available worldwide.
It is. It's on Amazon. Like one day you're not on Amazon, and the next day you're on Amazon. You say, I'm on Amazon.
So we can all be a part of Mrs. Green's world. I love it, and we need to be. You know, don't be fooled. One individual can make a difference, and that's what you're saying.
That's the most important part of the message. Don't think that you can't do anything out there. You can do everything. It starts with yourself and your own actions, and hopefully a lot of people will read the book because the message is so important.
Yeah. Healthy children, healthy lives, healthy planet, it all goes together.
Right.
Mrs. Green, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you for
Gina
having me.
Murphy, darling.
I loved it.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much
for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Don't you go away. We've got stars over Sedona glittering. We'll be right back to tell you about that.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27.